It is being discovered that police greatly broke protocol when arresting Luigi Maggioni, not even reading his Miranda rights. This Luigi Maggioni story is shady as hell. So you're telling me that the police found Luigi Maggioni in a random McDonald's far away from the crime scene simply because some old guy said that Luigi looks like the shooter? That is not probable cause. So after arresting Luigi Maggioni without probable cause, they did not read his Miranda rights, and then they engaged in an illegal search of his bag. You know, the same bag where the police just so happened to find a murder weapon and a manifesto, which is a prosecutor's wet dream. You know, the same manifesto where Luigi praises the feds and claims that he respects their work. So he simply wants to save them from a lengthy investigation by admitting that he did it and had no one who helped him. If this was true, why did Luigi Maggioni plead not guilty? Why is Luigi Maggioni and his lawyers fighting this case so fiercely? Why did Luigi Maggioni claim that this case is insulting the intelligence of the American people?
It's completely out of touch. And it's an insult to the intelligence of the American people. It's lived experience.
Luigi Maggioni is claiming that this case is an insult to the intelligence of the American people because why would Luigi keep the murder weapon on him days after the high-profile killing? The federal government will also have you believe that Luigi Maggioni didn't change his clothes for days, knowing that the police is looking for the outfit of the murderer. I swear to God that this story is simply an IQ test for Americans at this point. How crazy is it that our federal government is planning on killing this innocent guy, Luigi Maggioni, to send a message to the masses simply because they couldn't catch the real killer of Brian Thompson? Donald Trump and Zelensky finally reached an agreement on the minerals deal as the United States and Ukraine entered into a economic partnership. So essentially, the United States owns the natural resources of Ukraine, and all Ukraine had to do was sacrifice an entire generation of Ukrainian men. Ukraine went to war with Russia because they thought it would get NATO membership in Crimea, but all they got was a country destroyed and their natural resources plundered by the United States. Donald Trump claims that he's doing the rare earth deal in order to recoup the amount of money the United States has spent in Ukraine. The only problem is Ukraine doesn't actually possess rare earth minerals. That was a ploy by Ukrainians in order to secure security guarantees from Donald Trump. In fact, the rare earth mineral that Ukraine does possess is under control of Russian-occupied territory. Now do you guys understand why Joe Biden and the EU was willing to start World War III over the Donbass? So what Donald Trump and the United States is doing now is taking a little bit of natural resources that Ukraine actually have while making a fortune for American companies like BlackRock during Ukraine reconstruction. I really hope that Taiwan is paying close attention to what happened to Ukraine. You would be a fool to trust the United States and the West. Oh, Jesus Christ. What's poppin', people? Welcome to another powerful RBN DDG Geopolitics live stream. We're going to dive right into it. I got my friend, amazing geopolitical analyst, host of the wildest spaces you will find on X. What's poppin', my friend? What's going on, Sarah?
How are you guys? I'm happy to be here. Kind of caught a little off guard. So really grateful that you're leading the show today. A little off kilter.
Yeah, there's plenty to cover, and that's why I wanted to do another show this Thursday. We're probably gonna take next Thursday off.
Okay.
We're doing this thing with DDG Geopolitics and RBN. Always great to have you on. Almost like my rant therapeutic buddy, Sarah.
Yeah.
Here. So I have my 2 hotspot videos. You guys know, even though I didn't go live yesterday, I'm always in the lab cooking. You guys know how it is. I'm always studying our enemy. And I see the corporate media is 100% getting this wrong. Like, I don't know, they're doing this on purpose.
what the rare earths, and this is one headline because I was doing a lot of reading this. You guys know I do a lot of prep when I do the hotspot videos. And I'll just read the headline here. Sarah, I want to get your thoughts on this rare earth mineral deal as well. Here's the headline. Rare earths in Ukraine, no, only scorched earth. President Trump's fixation on extracting elements from war-torn nation is an illusion. So as I digged into this, Zelensky and the Ukrainian government essentially bullshitted Donald Trump, MAGA, and the neocon wing. I think a lot of neocons knew this, but he convinced Trump, and maybe Trump is playing along as well, into thinking that Ukraine is this mineral, rare earth rich nation to drag U.S. to give security guarantees to Ukraine. But Sarah, what do you think? What have you been following this story?
A little bit. We talked about the agreement a little bit yesterday. In fact, that it's really interesting to me because while all of this is going on, the Russians are kind of just like entertained. You bringing up the map. That's perfect. And what I wanted to touch on is that everything is in the Donbass. And the only thing that's worth anything, like you're showing, is the only thing that would be worth anything to the Americans is past the Dnieper River over there with the bright yellow, which is titanium, which is something that we don't really need as much. What we need is located in Donbass. And so they won't be getting to those rare earth minerals either. So I'm not really sure what fruit this deal is supposed to bear. A flagship mechanism for encouraging transparent, accountable, and future-oriented investment into critical sectors of Ukraine's economy. I mean, I think you and I talked about it last week. They want to restructure China's economy, and this is just them wanting to restructure Ukraine's economy to be more beneficial to the United States. It's a pipe dream because there's not really a lot to work with within Ukraine, especially industrially. So it feels like a very non-issue or like a red herring. There's really no point to these talks. And I think Zelensky actually knows that.
Is this designed to provoke Russia? Because the idea of Ukraine now, and feel free to disagree if you have, because I'm shifting through this as well. It seems like and this is why Ukraine was celebrating this, even though they was initially against this, because they was trying to tie security guarantees. Because if we can have this deal that will have capitalist investment, capitalists will more likely want to protect their resources and protect their investment, which will be the security guarantees on paper. Because one of the reasons why this is nefarious and why the West is attached to this conflict is because the United States is going to invest in the reconstruction of Ukraine. Now that's where a lot of the money's at, baby. They're gonna get BlackRock in there. They're gonna get a lot of these capitalists that are gonna make a ton of money, getting a lot of state-funded grants to rebuild the infrastructure of Ukraine. Can you imagine the amount of money a lot of people are licking their chops at? But Sarah, I think you want to chime in for free.
The end of Zelensky's statement is really interesting. Just as importantly, an upgrade of our legal practices.
Let me read it. Yeah. And then chime in. I'll just pull this article up. I was skimming through it as we was talking now because I was interested in seeing how many of the key political world leaders are reacting. Pretty predictable, I would think. Here's Zelensky's comment I just dug up. It is now a truly equal agreement that opens the door to substantial investment in Ukraine and enables major modernization of production within our country, as well as, just as importantly, and this is what you brought up, an upgrade of our legal practices. So, Sarah, what are you thinking?
I don't know what that means. That's like really strange wording, especially since Ukraine is the land of corruption and kind of like mafioso government. So what legal practices do they want to update, especially putting it in the hands of the United States? What is that? That's kind of worrying. And especially since the Rada, well, for our listeners, Ukraine's parliament, thanks, Rookie. Ukraine's parliament is never going to go through for this. So are they going to have to alter things legally in order to get this through? What about Ukraine sort of, I'm losing my train of thought because
I'm sorry.
Okay, that's okay. This sort of
feel free to interrupt me because I'm just checking out the
Ukraine to make this more amicable to the United States. That's what's worrying it for me. And they're talking about reindustrialization of Ukraine, which is something the Americans could have done in the last 30 years, and they did not. So what are they? And we're going to reindustrialize Ukraine while we're reindustrializing the United States. This all seems very crazy to me.
Yeah, it is. It is. I think he said this is why a strong push for diplomacy is needed. Continued pressure on Russia is essential to force it into silence. Oh, Jesus Christ, so delusional. Zelensky is still saying that the goal to defeat Russia is forcing it into silence. You are losing. This war is over. Like, Russia is taking their time. So what Zelensky is at, and I brought this up many times before, and Sarah, I'll pass right to you. No, Zelensky wants World War III. He wants Article 5 because that's the only thing. That's the only way you're gonna forcibly silence Russia. That's why Russia is doing what it's doing, because it's in the driver's seat. You guys just accepted peace a long time ago. But Sarah, I know you're chopping at a bit. Feel free if you want to.
The Kursk was meant to be the ace up Zelensky's sleeve. That was supposed to be Zelensky's bargaining chip. Disregarding the statements. Disregarding the statements that come after the agreement. I keep on losing my train of thought. I'm really sorry. Russia is actually looking at this and saying, like, look at these idiots. One of my admin actually from Siberia wrote a small article stating that that Putin is actually using these negotiations to his advantage. It's making the other team look silly. They look like they're grasping at straws. Oh, now I remember what I want to say. The Trump card, no pun intended, Trump card up Zelensky's sleeve was supposed to be Kursk. That was lost this weekend. I believe it was Saturday. It was made official that Kursk was re-liberated by the Russian armed forces and the Koreans, apparently. But once they lost that, the cards are completely gone. Trump has been saying to Zelensky, you have no cards, even before the loss of Kursk. Russia came out and said, you lost Kursk, and not only that, but we still have the initiative in the Donbass. You didn't thin out our troops. You didn't kind of put us off of our objectives. Your goals were not met. So, like, that's the last chip. I need to read this actual agreement to see how badly.
There's still a lot of details that haven't been released. There's still a lot of people waiting. Right now, we have a framework and we know what's been leaked, but we still got to. And this is for my knowledge. If anyone knows, let me know. But I looked into this. There's still a lot of confusion exactly what this deal will entail. There's still a lot of very loose language that will have to be ironed out over the years. I saw some analysis. It came from corporate media, so take from grain of salt. Some analysis that was explaining that this deal won't really take effect until possibly the next term of the next president. So there's a chance that Ukraine accepted this, knowing that the pendulum swings in the United States. And this is just a theory, guys, that this deal won't really kick in for a few years. So Ukraine just had to chill until a Democrat wins, until Pete Buttigieg wins in 2028, because that's when it's really going to be activated.
Well, that's another reason why Russia kind of takes a step back and says, what do I care what you negotiate? This was a point that they made early on, and Putin and Lavrov both made it, that the leadership in the United States changes at best every 8 years, at minimum every 4 years, and sometimes every 2 years. So it's something that the Russians are like, what do we care what you say today? In a year, in 2 years, it could be completely different. A year and a half is when our midterms happen. So
either way, you want to know who's not going to win? The people of Ukraine. The same way that the fascist Ukrainian regime robbed the people of Ukraine the ability to collectively bargain, to unionize. The way he banned socialist parties. This is a project that's going to expand the wealth of the capitalists who are exploiting Ukraine. We've seen this over and over again. That's why I despise the NATO left. There's no rehabilitating people like Bernie Sanders, Ro Khanna, and them, because they will say some stupid shit like, "Oh, I support the war in Ukraine because we're fighting for democracy." Meanwhile, you're doing the bidding of Western neocons. I'm literally scrolling through. I might read a few of these reactions because I was just interested in seeing what they're saying. But the neocons, they love this. They knew this was the primary goal. Marco Rubio he's all for this. A milestone in our shared prosperity. Whenever you got United States neocons like Marco Rubio talking about shared prosperity with a country, you know they're fucked.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I mean, you if you just look at who responds positive to it and who responds negatively to it, it tells you everything you need to know. Like Marco Rubio was all about like capitalist imperialism, especially in the global South. But if he could get it in Ukraine too, then hell yeah.
Yeah, what's poppin', Zoya? I'm sorry I missed a
Nice,
lot of chat.
Zoya is love.
Yeah, big shout out to our friend Zoya. Big shout out to all you guys. I'm missing some in the chats, but I'll make sure I catch a few I see inside my eye here. Marco Rubio, love it. I saw a Russian name. Let me see what the Russian name. Here's a Democrat.
Medvedev actually put out.
Democrat congressperson called the agreement Donald Trump's extortion of the Ukraine deal, adding that he hopes the administration can now turn to the real roadblock for peace. And what Democrats have been saying, you got to realize the Democrat Party lost their mind because they was upset at Donald Trump when Donald Trump said that Crimea is off the table.
Yeah.
So the position of many Democrats is that we should never have peace in Ukraine until we can forcibly take Crimea. And there was you had Lavrov. Oh, God damn it. I need to show you guys this interview one day. I need to dig this up. Because Lavrov did an interview on
CBS.
Was it CBS? One of these corporate media outlets. And they asked him about Ukraine. They were so furious. Like, why don't you negotiate over Crimea? And Lavrov simply said, we don't negotiate over Russian territory.
Yeah, I love the one where she said something like, I don't even remember. She said, what do you think about, or do you think Trump this, and that, and the other thing? He goes, so you trust me more than you trust your own president? And the girl
Lavrov be like, cooking. He be cooking these people in the Western media.
I just showed it. There's clips on our Telegram if you want them. It's funny. It's a great interview.
Oh shit, man! I should have prepared a segment on this. I might do it one day. I see here's the interview. It's 40 minutes long. I want to show you guys the certain part. I saw a lot of it.
Via outlets.
I might show this to you guys another day. The interview with Lavrov from Face the Nation. He dismantled them. He's like, and he did it with a smile on his face. Like the difference between, even if you guys don't agree with them, but the difference between Russian, Chinese, and even Iranian politicians compared to the United States and Western bimbo, dumbass politicians is night and day. Because it doesn't matter if you agree with Lavrov. It's clear whenever you hear Lavrov and these Russian politicians close to Putin, they have a breadth of knowledge and history. Lavrov knows everything that she's going to say before she even says it. God damn, I need to find a few clips. Sarah, can you find
It's great because they just can't even trip him up. They're like,
I'll just play a little bit of it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm actually interested. I actually want to play a little bit of it. This interview was good. I only play a little bit. I might break down more of it later.
What made it worth killing civilians?
The reason why I brought this up originally, we will get back to it. I know I'm sidetracking here. The reason why I originally brought this up, because this interview, they was pressing Lavrov, and this is the position of the Democrat Party. The position of the Democrat Party is we can't negotiate for peace without Crimea. And I love the part where Lavrov was like, bro, we don't negotiate over Russian territory. Shut the fuck, get the fuck out. He just says it in such a cold way, and when she couldn't even respond, she struggled to respond. Anyway, I'll play a little bit of this just to show you guys, and Sarah, feel free to interrupt. Also can get some more receipts ready while we listen to this.
Civilians, when Ukraine says it's ready for a ceasefire.
We only target military goals or civilian sites used by the military. President Putin expressed this for so many times, and this is not different this time as well.
And they're talking about the way Russia wages war. Compare Ukraine to Gaza and understand how much stronger Russia is than Israel. If Russia could easily, especially since Israel normalized it, what's stopping Russia from blowing up all their fucking hospitals? They haven't done that. Show me where Russia blown up their hospitals. Why haven't Russia taken out all their universities the same way Israel have? Anyway, I don't want to interrupt too much, but you guys see that the hypocrisy is so
He even
annoying.
said that. Remember, in the long time ago, before Gaza genocide even began, Lavrov said, "I have it bookmarked. If I find it while we're on the stream, we'll play it." But He said, is it keeping you up at night? Just imagine it's Gaza. Just imagine it's the Middle East. Just imagine it's Iraq. I'll see if I can grab it. But I mean, he's always pointing out the hypocrisy. That's why we love Lavrov. But
so obviously we're not going to watch all 40 minutes of this, but I definitely want to watch a little bit of it because I hyped this interview up. And I haven't seen the full thing. I've seen it in clips. So I'm actually interested in watching
I actually have some of it. Hold on.
Yeah, man, let's feel free if you want to pull something up. Let me know. But I'm gonna continue.
Here it is.
Let me know in the chat if you guys enjoy. You have a clip you want to show?
Yeah, it's you could share it. This is one of the ones from the interview. And then
yeah, cool. Let me Oh wait, hold up. My bad. Let me take
I
mine down.
Put the link in the chat if you want. Oh, there we go. All right. And so
that he was sending his envoy, Steve Witkoff, to meet with Vladimir Putin Friday in Russia. Is that meeting still happening? And should we expect a deal this week?
Well, you don't trust the word of the President of the United States?
But he did say there was a deal and that he was sending...
that's why they can't stand Putin and Lavrov, because Putin, and just like Lavrov, actually is very sarcastic. And he has a very particular sense of humor.
Well, you don't.
Yeah, the interview is really good. There's a few clips that we published. Really good interview.
So we just added this segment because I want to watch it. Let me know in the chat if you guys enjoying this. I'm gonna play just a little bit of this and then we can move on.
Get civilian sites, unlike the Zelensky regime.
So was this an intentional attack then, not a mistake?
If this was a target used by the Ukrainian military, the Ministry of Defense, the commanders in the field have the right to attack them.
So just to be clear, when the President of the United States says, Vladimir, stop, is this a rejection of that request? Was the assessment that because of what you say regarding the concerns that this loss of civilian life made it worth it?
Well, I can assure you that the target attacked was not something absolutely civilian like a TV center in Belgrade in 1999. This was an intentional attack against civilian target. In our case, we only target those sites which are used by the military. And regarding the ceasefire and regarding the call to stop, President Putin immediately supported President Trump's proposal a few weeks ago to establish a 30-day ceasefire, provided we do not repeat mistakes of the last 10 years, when deals were signed and then Ukraine would violate those deals with the support and with encouragement from Biden administration and from European countries. This was the fate of the deal of February 2014. Then this was the fate of the Minsk agreements, and this was the fate of the deal reached on the basis of Ukrainian proposals in Istanbul in April 2022. So President...
And I want you guys to notice, and you guys should be furious that we don't get this level of hostility from these journalists at our corrupt politicians. If you will continue watching the interview, the hostility and the questioning and the attitude shown by the journalists to Lavrov, you will never see that directed at our politicians, even though they deserve it. But secondly, as we watch this, realize that Lavrov has an answer, an historical perspective, and is ready to cut down every single one of our talking points. We're only going to listen to one more question. We listen to one more question, we move on. But the difference between these politicians and our politicians, where you have people like Bernie Sanders running away from peace activists, you know what I mean? You have these politicians, you have Cole Pink that harassing pro-genocide Congress people at Capitol Hill, and they running from them. They run from the media. They only allowed to have softball interviews. Meanwhile, look at how easily the people in the West can just cut down the Western narrative. But let me continue. I only want to play one more of a question, and then we can move on. I'm just watching this kind of as a nerd right now. But Sarah, feel free to chime in if you want to. Only going to watch. I'm going to let her respond and ask one more question, let him respond, then we move on.
Putin said, ceasefire, yes, but we want the guarantees that the ceasefire would not be used again to beef up Ukrainian military, and that the supply of arms should stop.
Ukraine accepted on March 11th that idea of a U.S. brokered ceasefire without preconditions. You're saying the preconditions are a negotiation to end something else?
No, it is not a precondition. It is the lessons learned after at least 3 times the deals similar to the one which we are discussing now.
Yeah. But Russia has not accepted that call for a
Ukrainian
ceasefire.
regime with a strong support from European capitals and Biden administration. If you want a ceasefire just to continue supply arms to Ukraine,
Right.
so what is your purpose? You know what Kaya...
That's exactly what we've been saying. You guys see how Lavrov is cutting down her talking points, despite how hostile she is being. He's saying, what's the point of the ceasefire if you guys still going to be fucking around in Ukraine, essentially? But let me finish this point and we can move on.
Alice and what's his name, Mark Rutte, said about the
NATO
ceasefire,
Secretary General and the European Union.
They bluntly stated that they can support only the deal which at the end of the day will make Ukraine stronger, would make Ukraine a victor. So if this is the purpose of the ceasefire, I don't think this is what President Trump wants. This is what Europeans, together with Zelensky, want to make out of President Trump's initiative.
Will Russia continue targeting Kyiv despite President Trump saying, Vladimir, stop?
This is very interesting for me to watch, but I guess we should move on.
No, if you want to keep going, keep going.
Let's listen to one more question. How you guys enjoying this? Because this kind of a segment I'll just do together because I'm just interested. Let's watch one. Let's see how we respond to this question, and then we can begin to wrap up this segment.
Will Russia continue targeting Kyiv despite President Trump saying, Vladimir, stop?
You're not listening to me. We will continue to target the sites used by the military of Ukraine.
I gotta hear that again. You're not listening to me, Lavrov, bro. He cracks me up.
Vladimir, stop.
You're not listening to me. We will continue to target the sites used by the military of Ukraine, by some mercenaries from foreign countries, and by instructors whom the Europeans officially sent to help target Russian civilian sites. If you take a look at the situation in the Kursk region of Russia, for example, there is no single military target for the last 6 months which the Ukrainians would fire at. And there was also a proposal by President Trump, immediately supported by President Putin, to have a 1 month moratorium on the attacks on energy infrastructure.
Right, that's expired.
Violated this commitment of President Putin, and Ukrainians violated what Zelensky seemed to support several hundred times. And I sent to Marco Rubio and to the United Nations the list of those attacks. It's really very, very telling and eloquent.
And Ukraine disputes that, but putting that aside.
And Ukraine, who gives a fuck?
Ukraine disputes that, okay?
Oh, Jesus Christ. She was struggling this whole interview. I haven't seen the beginning. I've seen this in clips.
These interviews are so much
brilliant.
More important than just the content. Like, the content is important and what he says is important, but it's more important for Westerners to watch how these politicians answer questions, the way that they fire back. Our journalists are not ready for this. They're not equipped for this. And if you've even watched, like, Lukashenko has done the same thing. He said to the BBC, what the hell are you asking me these stupid ass questions? Pretty much, like, don't waste my time with this. So yeah, they get really irritated. It's a lot. It's really important to watch these interviews when you do them.
I'm not a Assadist, but I have seen clips of Assad just cooking the BBC, cooking Western media, because they say easily debunk bullshit. The same with Lula, the same with Maduro. When these Nepo babies in the corporate media is actually faced with someone who did not go through the same brainwashing, that's not going through the same fake CNN news script, they get cooked. Like, Lavrov was cooking her this entire time in the most calm demeanor while she was panicky, Ukraine actually disputes that. Like, that's so desperate. I'll play a little bit more of this. It's like Lavrov is brilliant. This is a great interview. We watched a little bit more of this, and we can move on. And then Sarah, you can do a story that you want to do next. I know we kind of. I want to make sure you cover a few stories you want to. Just let me know. We can do that after we finish this video. But I'm gonna continue just a little bit more. I know this video is great to me, so let's continue a little bit more.
It's really very, very telling and eloquent.
And Ukraine disputes that. But putting that aside, I want to ask you about what President Trump said on Wednesday. The president of the United States says he thinks the U.S. and Russia have a deal. Let's get it done. Does President Putin agree?
Well, the president of the United States believes, and I think rightly so, that we are moving in the right direction. The statement by the president mentions a deal, and we are ready to reach a deal, but there are still some specific points, elements of this deal which need to be fine-tuned, and we are busy with this exact process. And the president of the United States did not spell out the elements of the deal, so it is not appropriate for me to do this.
But he did say there was a deal and that he was sending his envoy, Steve Witkoff, to meet with Vladimir Putin Friday in Russia. Is that meeting still happening? And should we expect a deal this week?
Well, you don't trust the word of the president of the United States?
I was asking your president's word. What will he tell the U.S. envoy?
We continue our contacts with the American side on the situation in Ukraine.
I think I'll end it there. I think that's a good way to end it because that's the part that you previewed. You don't trust your president. This is brilliant. It's great to see Lavrov. It's very rare that they actually bring him on and allow him or any like Chinese or Russian politician to have air. Remember, it was a while ago. I'll show you guys a former Chinese foreign minister who was interviewed by the BBC. It was a few weeks ago, if you guys remember. And you guys remember how he just cooked and destroyed all the narratives that were coming from that Western puppet reporter. This happens all the time. This is why they don't show you this kind of stuff. This is why they don't bring these people on. That's why they had a panic attack when Tucker Carlson interviewed Vladimir Putin. They don't want you to ever hear the alternative narrative. The same reason you won't see me or Sarah on corporate media. It's the same kind of concept, right?
I get close. We can get close, but not to corporate media.
Yeah, Sarah, I want to give you a chance. Any final thoughts you have on that random Lavrov segment we did? And also I want to give you a chance to share any stories, anything that on your radar.
I'm really been focusing on this techno-fascist takeover of the United States and how hypocritical this administration has really gotten. And it kind of plays into what Lavrov was talking about. Yeah. But the thing that I wanted to actually talk about is this thing that I posted the other day. I just shared the screen, but it's let me pull it up. But it's this weird. They're doing these weird.
Will continue
these weird MAGA influencer press briefings.
Oh yeah, I've seen this.
Just for the MAGA influencers in a separate press room, in the blue press room, and it's very, very weird. I want to play it and get your opinion on it because it's weird.
This is. So thanks for coming to the influencer briefing. I look forward to taking your questions. And Deborah, why don't you kick us off?
Congratulations on 100 incredible days. And over the past 100 days, the majority of policies that we've seen from the Trump administration have been either targeted at foreign affairs, such as bringing the American hostages home or attempting to end the war between Ukraine and Russia, or on long-term goals such as cutting government spending with DOGE. What policies can we expect to see rolled out over the next few months that Americans will directly feel the effects of in order to secure the 2026 midterms for the Republican Party and keep his approval rating historically high?
Yeah, the first answer that comes to mind, Deborah, is definitely tax cuts. The president will continue.
What are these people talking about? Why are they having press briefings for the influencers? Why are they so scripted like this? This is state-sponsored media. Like, I'm sorry. I don't know what people want. Like, all of this shit that people have, all of these things that people have been saying, you know, they hate us for our freedom. We'll never be like Russia. Russia's authoritarian. North Korea, they don't even let you talk about the government, blah, blah, blah. The RT is state-sponsored media. It's Russian propaganda. What the is this?
I never seen this on RT. I watch a lot of RT.
Like,
yeah,
I have this on RT.
You would never see this. You would never see this in Chinese state media. This is actually worse than the projection of other countries. So it's funny because
who is Deborah?
I showed you guys Media San, and they're the shit libs that always say, "Oh my God, what are we doing? Turning to North Korea? What are we, the filthy Asians?" That's the imperialist, racist ideology of people like Media San.
To El Salvador, we are rounding up people who have dissenting voices against the genocide in Gaza that we are supporting, and we're doing state-sponsored media briefings that are clearly scripted. Whoever that Deborah is, I have no clue, but probably some Zionist beauty queen. We're handing her like her questions. So then Caroline Levitt, who looks 50 but is like 27, I guess she's just like taking the age of her sugar daddy who's over 50. But this is horrendous. This is worse than North Korea. This is worse than the worst Russian propaganda. This is bad. This is bad, and people are cheering it on. So I there's one part of me that's glad, because now I'm like, all of the things that you said about Russia and China that we're now doing, and you're saying it's okay. Now it's okay everywhere, but it's also the most of MAGA is it's okay when we do it, though. We're doing it for our protection.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought this up, Sarah. I just felt I remember seeing this clip. I'm glad I'm able to find it. You guys see what the shit libs say, and I'm gonna show you guys the crazy shit you will see out of the Trump administration. I don't know if you guys seen they do these like cabinet meetings, which is I suppose better than hiding in the closet like Biden, but it's not really like transparency, because it's essentially one giant circle jerk of RFK telling Trump how amazing he is, Pam Bondi tell Trump how amazing he is, and then Marco Rubio does a reach around. It's like, but look at what Ed Krasentine compares this to. Trump cabinet meetings are straight out of North Korea. No, sir. This is the United States of America. And I'm so tired of white liberals and neocons and these brainwashed Muslim academics like Media San who follow and they worship CIA and Western talking points where they project all the failures of our country and then accuse and attack the Koreans for it. So I remember they attacked North Korea because Kim Jong-un, his father died. A hero of the nation, they died. So there was people who cried after losing a revolutionary leader that was helping them fight the West. And then people in the West said that was evidence that they have a cult-like mentality because they mourn the loss of their leader. Meanwhile, look at what happened to England. The cult of England, where their fucking bullshit monarch died, and the full-fledged meltdown that happened in Western media for 2 weeks. Compare how the West act to the king and queen of England, these fake reality TV Nepo babies who are funded by taxpayer money. People was having fucking meltdowns, having I've seen people recording videos of them crying. By the way, as I said, anyone who recorded a video of themselves crying is inherently a psychopath. But there was people that are like, oh my God, the queen is dead. The queen is dead. Oh my God, the queen. I love the queen. They have the nerve to criticize North Korea. Get the fuck out of here. But anyway, so I didn't play the video. Actually, let me play the video. This is the United States, guys. This is not China. This is not Russia. This is not North Korea. This is the United States.
President, your first 100 days has far exceeded that of any other presidency in this country, ever. Never seen anything like it. Thank you. I was at DEA yesterday, and they said to me, you, Donald Trump, have taken the handcuffs off of DEA agents.
And I could find more clips, but guys, this entire cabinet meeting was every single one of them. I wish I could find a clip of RFK, because RFK is extremely cringe as well. Him with his raspy voice talking about Donald Trump, you're the most consequential president. It's a ridiculous oligarchy circle jerk full of millionaires and billionaires. And if you notice, if you look at Trump's agenda, the least accomplished leader in the world in the first 100 days, the only thing he's accomplishing is passing culture warrior initiatives. That's the only thing he's doing. Drafting executive orders banning trans people from sports, drafting executive order, restoring Columbus Day, renaming the Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of America. They are accomplishing nothing for the working class as they stroke each other's ego and throw fire on the flames of the culture war meant to distract the working class. But Sarah, anything you want to add?
No, but I do. Zoya wants me to touch on the fact that we are North Korea, actually, in conjunction with the EU and the EU Parliament. So
let me show you guys.
We stopped here we go. Thank you for bringing that up. Shay Bose, our good friend, or Shay, if you pronounce it correctly, Shay Bose, was detained in Romania, which is not. It's something that Romania has been doing a lot of lately. They've detained the leader of Gagauzia, the female, Yevgenia Otshul. They've also detained other journalists. And now today they detained Shay. We are getting reports in over on our Telegram that he's actually been released and is on his way back from Moscow. I don't know if that he just doesn't have his devices and isn't updating, or if he's actually still in custody, but he was arrested. And I want our listeners to remember, Shay usually gets flown out or does it on his own dime. He goes to these countries that are undergoing color revolutions or undue influence from the West. So he was in Georgia during their parliamentary elections and the following protests, reporting on that. He also went to Serbia during their protests and spoke to them. And so he was flying to Romania to go for their very contested and strange presidential election, to which the main frontrunner was banned from running, citing he was creating a fascist organization on TikTok. So they started running another guy heavily connected to the guy who was banned, but this guy was a member of parliament, so they technically can't really remove him from the race, and he's very much ahead. So Shay was going there to report on that. People also keep in mind, Romania is supposed to be the site of the newest and largest NATO base in the EU, which the president who was going to be elected, Kalin, I believe his name is, I'm sorry, I'm pulling a blank, but he was highly against it. And so he was removed from the race. I guess they figured they can't do it again without being too obvious, but Shay was detained for going there as an RT reporter to report on the race. That's pretty interesting. While Andrew Tate is in Dubai and Shay's being detained in Romania. I told him, just tell him you're the Tate's reporter. They'll let you go. Reporter, you got to go to Dubai for the crypto dinner.
Yeah, if you serve in the capitalist class, you pushing the culture war. If you're part of the Matrix while pretending not to be part of the Matrix, then they got you. You're not in any real danger. Right now, it's a dangerous time to be a journalist in the West, man. I was talking to one of my international friends who was begging me to leave the United States. They were scared because of my work I do on Zionism. I have all these. If you're not an expert, you're missing out because I have all these like folding at the mouth, ADL, IDF Zionists who always threaten me. It's always funny. They always send me these messages. I'm like, motherfucker, y'all know I live in Kansas City. I wish y'all fucking would. I wish y'all fucking would try to do something. Like, I'm down for that shit. But it's a dangerous time to be in the West if you're a journalist speaking against a Zionist regime. You're seeing massive crackdown against anyone who oppose the NATO agenda, who oppose the Ukrainian agenda. They killed Gonzalo Lira in Ukraine, and the United States haven't said a word about it. Israel was killing American journalists. They didn't say a goddamn thing. Like, we've seen the true axis of evil, which I would call the United States, UK, maybe Italy, France, but Israel has to be in there as well. Mostly them big Germany, of course. Germany. If I had the big four, I would say the United States, UK, Germany, Israel. The big four evil. They are responsible for cracking down on journalists, prosecuting journalists, torturing journalists more than anything else. Israel has a systemic campaign where they have been kidnapping and torturing not only journalists, but doctors as well. Something the corporate media had not covered. They kidnap literally the heads of these hospitals, accused them of working with Hamas, and they torture these people to death. So that's why I thought it was karma, among many things, when I saw this in the news. I've never seen collective humanity root for fire so much. Because I don't know if you guys saw, there's these massive fires in Israel. I'm using this as a transition point. Israel is burning right now. And what's interesting about this story, not only is it justice, the massive wildfires, Israel is fleeing. Like, this is a panic. They declared a state of emergency. I can show you guys all these crazy photos of these fires in Israel, all these people that have been displaced. But the reason why I'm covering this is not just because we love seeing bad things happen to Zionists, but this happened because Israeli settlers tried to set fire on Palestinian agricultural lands. So, just typical settler Zionist terrorist ideology and political action. They tried to burn down Palestine, and it backfired. And one of the reasons why, because a lot of Israelis are like, oh my, I can't believe that none of these fires are happening on Arab lands. That's how sick these people are when tragedy happened to them. They're like, why the tragedy that's happening to us not happening to anyone else? why is the Palestinians burning? I'm not religious, so I can't take there are a lot of people taking a very interesting take on this. Well, I think it's funny, the divine intervention. I'm not pew-pewing it, but it's not my thing. Because if divine intervention was real, Israel wouldn't exist, to be frank. But it is karmatic justice. Because I've been reading about this, I've been knowing about this. One of the ways that Israel erases the Palestinian culture, not only do they steal their food, they steal their clothes. Like, they literally take Palestinian cuisine and they rename it, and they call it Israeli. They just steal everything from Palestinians. They try to restructure the plant life in occupied Palestine in order to completely erase Palestine as a land and people. So one of the things they did, I would never understand this, I'm learning about this recently, they planted millions of these Aleppo pine trees, which is extremely flammable because they are not naturally used to the dried, hot, humid land, which is occupied Palestine, which is the same reason why Israelis tend to suffer the most from skin cancer. Here's a friend, Syrian girl, and I'll get you in there for any thoughts you may have, Sarah. I just want to do a quick presentation.
No, you're good.
Syrian girl said, Israel fire set by Israeli settlers trying to burn down Palestinian olive groves.
Mm-hmm.
You can't write this shit.
No, you really can't.
So if you're one of the people that's religious, I have nothing against that, and you're saying that this is divine intervention, I don't blame you because it does kind of seem like there's a God saying fuck you Israel right now. But Sarah, do you want to chime in?
It's just so poetic. I actually woke up yesterday and to the fires and to Syrian girl in a space, and she was like, well, they were theorizing about what happened, and then I looked up Haaretz. And it's like, we did it. And it's like it's funny. But of course, it's spreading. See, this is what happens when you plant Polish pines from Eastern Europe, pine trees, and you root out all of the other crap that's supposed to be indigenous to the area. This is what you get. You get an untenable situation. The best is that they actually started posting pictures that look just like the Nakba that they forced 1,000 times on the Palestinians.
Yeah,
and they
I
wanted,
can find that picture, yeah.
Yeah, they wanted sympathy. And it's like, read a room. Like, read the room. Nobody cares.
Everyone in the world. I don't have time to show you guys all the memes, but everyone in the world is laughing at them. I've never seen humanity cheer for a mass fire like this before. Let's just God hope that it doesn't reach anywhere in Palestine, which apparently has not. This is why a lot of Israelis are in shambles. Damn, I need to find a picture because there's a lot of these Zionists are being displaced. They are forced to walk long distances, forced to find water. Almost like just a little bit of a sampling of the hell that you guys inflicted on the Palestinians. And I did a segment earlier this week about the right wing. I think maybe with you, I do so many of these shows, these things start to blend together with me. But the right-wing civil war, I see these right-wing accounts like, dude, I've never used to see it. As someone who covered this Palestine issue for years, Usually it will just be the left piling on. I am seeing some shit, and I don't think it has really transferred or is going to transfer into actual electoral politics anytime soon. But I am seeing people on the right speak up against Israel the way I've never seen before. This is an account called Red Pill Media. Look, American First in his bio. Also, exposing Zionist terrorism. Very interesting things are happening, guys. We won't really know the true effect until like a little bit afterwards. But I've seen the right dog Israel because as the left is celebrating Israel burning, also seen a lot of these right-wingers doing the same. And a lot of these right-wingers, remember, a lot of them are evangelicals. A lot of these people are religious. And this guy said, God has had enough of these demons. If you're losing the evangelical Christians, it's getting rough. It's getting rough. Here's another hilarious where people laugh at the IDF. They reached the IDF Kafir Brigade military base. But there is a reason why you are seeing the immense panic and the true fascist behavior of Zionists, because if you're losing evangelical white boys, to be frank, something is really wrong. This is my last really planned segment that I have, but this leads to this. Harvard, which all these liberals, the progressives, everyone wanted to defend Harvard. Fuck Harvard. Harvard set themselves up for this. I explained this to you guys before. But if you give Zionists an inch, they're going to take a mile. And the reason why Harvard is suing Trump and his administration, because Trump administration is essentially doing a hostile takeover of elite academia, looking directly at Harvard, because Harvard flinched. They fired Claudine Gay, their first black female president, not because she said anything that was free Palestine. She didn't say anything supportive of the Palestinian protests. Claudine Gay simply said, I think what these people are protesting is deplorable, but I think these students that are protesting Israel has the right to do that. Even though I disagree with them, because we have to maintain the freedom of speech. She said something similar to that, and they fired her ass. Like they had a professional lynching of her because of that. So now the Zionists saw Harvard flinch, and now they're taking the whole mile. And Harvard, caving to their demands, put together this anti-Semitism task force, which is completely full of shit, and it exposes exactly the anti-Semitism hoax. Because this task force, this anti-Semitism report put together by Harvard, there are examples that they give, and this Israeli, this Zionist guy who I was having a fun time showing, he was like, oh my God, Harvard just released its final report on anti-Semitism and anti-Israel bias. What do you mean anti-Israel bias? What does anti-Israel bias have to do with anti-Semitism unless you're conflating the two? And spoiler alert, because it's 300 pages, and I'm not going to read it. I went through this thread, and all the examples that he gives of anti-Semitism is essentially people criticizing Israel. Look, after October 7th, Jewish students face an avalanche of hatred on anonymous apps. Bullshit. There were posts, there were people like me, who were saying stuff like, Israel deserved it. And when people was posting stuff like Israel deserved it, it was upvoted, guys. The people saying Israel deserved it got a lot of likes on their tweets, Sarah. So anti-Semitism happened. These are things that Harvard wrote down in the report with a straight face. They're using as an example of anti-Semitism viral tweets and posts on Instagram bashing Israel. And Sarah, I will get your thoughts on this, but this is what I said, because I'm going to show you guys just one of the tweets. I was showing the fuck out of this guy. Damn, he posted long. You see this long-ass thread? Oh, and this is my response. So this is it. I have 1.4 thousand likes on here. So all of the Jew hatred you guys was talking about was people just criticizing Israel and making you feel uncomfortable because of it. Zionists are deeply unserious people. Anything you want to add, Sarah, before I continue this insane anti-Semitism crackdown? Anything you want to add?
I don't know, man. This anti-Semitism stuff is very strange, and the amount of people that are being boosted that are engaging in like serious anti-Semitism is also very strange. Why Kanye West? Like, I don't really have a hypothesis formulated yet, or like Candace Owens, who are just kind of so off the deep end with their anti-Semitism that they actually make a lot of case for this sort of crackdown on anti-Semitism because of how influential they are. I think that plays a lot into it, because that's what these sort of crusaders are kind of pointing at and saying, like, look at what people are watching, look at the influencers, look at how they talk. We have to get this sort of under control. So it's a big self-feeding loop that is actually getting worse.
Yeah, I said many times before, the people like Nick Fuentes, they were the biggest Zionist ops in the world because they want people to conflate the problems with the Jews. I saw like Haas had this debate where he debated this insane Nazi motherfucker, where he essentially was blaming all the problems in societies on the Jewish people. And then at a certain point, the reason why Haas destroyed this guy, because at a certain point he acknowledged that Christians played a big part of Zionism, which they do, which is why blaming the Jews don't make sense. The Jewish people are enabled by Muslim Zionists in Jordan, in Egypt, in Saudi Arabia, in the UAE. So it doesn't make sense to say it's about the Jews when they're Muslim enablers in the Middle East, which they are. You know, the same people who helped shielded Israel as Iran had their retaliation last year. Remember that? So you have Muslim collaborators, and then you have the largest driver of Zionism, which is evangelical Christians. And then his excuse, when Haas obviously brought this up, was to say, oh, don't you know the Christians, they were actually just brainwashed by the Jews. You got to see how they steal all the agencies from the people they want to protect, because he's a Christian fascist. This guy was a Christian fascist. So instead of criticizing his own, he wants to blame the Jews for robbing the agency. Oh, no, the only reason why the Christians funded this shit, because don't you know they was brainwashed? Don't you know they being blackmailed? So they're supportive of the Zionist regime, and everything else after that is excuses. So to your point, Sarah, and you started this rant here, they play a very particular role. Because don't you guys know Nick Fuentes, with all his scathing critiques of Israel, he said he believed Israel has the right to exist.
Well,
I did find a clip.
You have to understand the point of that, though. He would want Israel to exist because he doesn't want them here. So if they have dual allegiance, they need to go back. So that's how that plays into it. So yes, they're only supportive of Palestine to the extent that it kind of keeps the Jews in check, but they need an Israel to send the Jews back to. That's part of this white nationalism. I think people kind of miss that. I think that Jews especially miss that these people aren't advocating. I think Candace might be more so, but most people aren't advocating for the destruction or the dismantlement of Israel, even the anti-Semitic ones. They just want the Jews not around them. And if they have a place to go, even better. So I think that's kind of something that Zionists actually
I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, that's a great point, because that's why they allow them to exist. That's why the algorithm boosts them, because they inherently give the justification for the Zionists for the creation of Israel. They loved for Nick Fuentes to say they want all the Jews to live in Israel. Nick Fuentes also speak against Hamas and Palestinian resistance. So there's a certain right-winger who are critical of Israel. They are more than happy to prop up because of that. Meanwhile, there are people who are legitimate patriots, people who are serious, who are not grifters, who may be misled by these people. And I'll tell you guys, I tend to have a lot of patience, and I forgive people who are victims of propaganda, because we are seeing, despite this grift we are talking about, we are seeing legitimate shifts, and it's shown in polling, where we are seeing more Americans say they're sympathetic to Palestinians versus Israel. A record amount of people saying they oppose American support for Israel. And here's Lindsey Graham, and now we're going to do a segment about the most traitorous motherfuckers in the world. Lindsey Graham as there was like hurricane cleanup in South Carolina, he was saying, "Yeah, I know there is a hurricane going on in South Carolina, but let's think about what Israel is going through right now." This motherfucker talks about Israel more than he talks about his constituents. And so many Americans are brainwashed. So many poor white people are stuck in the sauce of the culture war that there's these white boomers that vote for this motherfucker over and over and over and over again. It's crazy. It's crazy for me to see that people vote for this guy every time. And people are like, Nick, don't you know? No. We need, what the fuck is going on with that? Anyway, let's play this video because Lindsey Graham explains how Israel has completely lost the war on television. We're seeing a lot more of this. We're seeing a lot more of these Republicans panicking over what they're seeing on the right with people speaking out against Israel. So let me play this clip, and I want you to respond. I'm not sure if you've seen this, but Lindsey Graham is complaining about people turning against Israel.
That scares the hell out of them. And October 7th was designed to stop that. Let me tell you where I think we're at. We're ways away. The attack on Israel, the second largest attack on the Jewish people in the history of the Jewish people since the Holocaust, has been traumatic. The desire to reconcile or live with the Palestinians in any way, shape, or form is a pretty hard sell right now.
Straight up genocidal rhetoric. Christian Zionism is a satanic ideology. But let's continue. You guys see what we just said? It's because the Palestinians engaged in the jailbreak and they fought back against the fascists who was engaging in raids on mosques. Guys, I was covering this before October 7th, and I was explaining to you guys how there's a record amount of violence against Palestinians in the West Bank. You had these raids of Gaza. You had Shireen Abdul-Akleh, prominent Palestinian journalist who was murdered a year before October 7th. And remember how the Biden administration covered up the murder of Shireen Abdul-Akleh? They was murdering their journalists, they were killing their doctors, they were sniping children. You had a full-fledged offensive of Israel against the Palestinian people leading up to October 7th. The Palestinians respond, and now the genocidal Christian Zionists are calling for it. They're like, yeah, if Israelis don't want to live with Palestinians, that's their right. They should be able to get rid of all of them. That's the position of Lindsey Graham. He's upset because that position is not popular. But let me continue playing. I'll get your thoughts, Sarah.
In the Arab world, Israel's won the war on the ground, but they've lost it on television.
There it is. Israel won the war on the ground. They lost on television. Sarah, do you have any thoughts before I continue?
I can't believe he said that. They did lose the war on television. Everybody constantly talks about that, but it's also important that he said they did not lose the war on the ground. What really counts? The war on the ground. Because the people that make the decisions on the ground don't listen to the people that are watching. They don't listen to us. So it doesn't really, at the end, it doesn't really matter. But I guess he's just saying that because he wants to make sure that people get better soft power and better war propaganda.
I don't know if I should watch the rest of this. Lindsey Graham is very hard to listen to. I'll just play that last part again. I'll play just the one more clip and then we move on. He's very hard to listen to me.
The desire to reconcile or live with the Palestinians in any way, shape, or form is a pretty hard sell right now. In the Arab world, Israel's won the war on the ground, but they've lost it on television. You go anywhere in the Arab world and all they see is morning, noon, and night attacks on the Palestinian people. My promise to the people of Israel and to this region is not to give up. I am very optimistic we will break through, and let me tell you why.
All right, I can't stomach any more of this. But you guys see how much more he cares about Israel than he does the state of Americans, as American cities are falling apart. His number one concern is backing up his dream genocidal colonial settler state known as Israel. And I have another crazy story. This is my last story I want to share today in this live stream because it's another example of massive reckoning on the right, because Greg Abbott of Texas just completely gave the game away. And there are all these Jewish people. And one of the things, by the way, that the Holocaust Remembrance and ADL definition of anti-Semitism, they say it's anti-Semitism if you deny the right of self-determination of Israel to exist. So if you criticize American support for Israel, they will label you an anti-Semite. And they will say, another thing that's anti-Semitic is if people focusing too much on Israel. They said, why are there these Americans who focus so much on Israel? Our taxpayer money is being spent not to provide healthcare for us, not to rejuvenate American infrastructure. Texas killed high-speed rail. Meanwhile, Texas sends millions of dollars to the state of Israel. And there was a city, the city of San Marcos. The city of San Marcos simply said they wasn't supporting Palestinian liberation. They simply said, hey, man, all this money, I think it was around like 4 or 5 million that this particular town was sending to Israel, not spent on American. They were spending 5 million to Israel, just one little city. So they said, hey, man, I don't think we should be sending this money to Israel. We need to spend this on our own people. Which led to a meltdown from Greg Abbott. He wrote this fucking Karen, sternly written letter where he calls the entire city of San Marcos anti-Semitic. And as you guys see, he says anti-Israel policies are anti-Texas policies.
That's weird because Texas has one of the largest Muslim populations in the country, Texas and Michigan.
Dude, do you guys understand the complete rot and how much Zionists have infested our society? When people wonder why I obsess and I talk about this issue, Zionism is the #1 battle of our lifetime. The same way our red brothers and sisters, their #1 fight was against Nazism in the 40s. This is our struggle. Because not only are they engaging in genocide and rewriting the rules of war, they are corrupting our society. They are cracking down on free speech rights of Americans while funding corrupt politicians like Greg Abbott. They fund, and I say this to people on the right. I mentioned this to someone on Twitter. Why do you guys think Dianne Feinstein is able to be a senator until the day she dies? Why do you guys think we can't get rid of Chuck Schumer? Why do you guys think John Fetterman is going to have a job forever? Not only do they crack down on free speech, not only do they engage in violent and vicious war crimes, they prop up corrupt politicians who meant to sell out the American people for the state of Israel. It's the highest state of treason. And as I said before, the right-wing criticism of Israel is like I've never seen before. Mel, this person, she does a lot of criticism of Israel, but trust me, she's extremely right-wing, guys. I see some other takes from her. Well, I was like, Jesus Christ.
Oh, yeah, the village crazy lady? Yeah, she's wild.
Guys, she's good on Israel-Palestine, but this lady is actually fucking yikes, bro. But that's not the point, guys. We need to me, I am at a position now where I'm trying to fucking form this massive patriotic coalition against these Zionist fascists who are occupying our country. And Mel, you guys see his or tweet. I don't have to read it all, but she calls out. I'll just read the last line. These politicians have zero loyalty to our country. They are total traitors. And like all her like tweets against it, like 48,000 likes, 2.2 million views. Guys, I would never seen this in 2019. You guys, remember, people thought I was crazy when I grew up Marianne Williamson on the two-state solution. Remember, before October 7th, I had Marianne Williamson on, and I grilled her about why supporting the two-state solution was ridiculous. Now everyone on my side. People like, Nick, why you always bring up the Israel-Palestine issue just to tear down progressives? That what the Vanguard said about me. The Vanguard was like, don't you know that Nick, he just used the Israel-Palestine issue to tear down our favorite politicians? That's what people used to say before October 7th. So trust me, guys, I've been in the trenches on this issue for a long time, and I have never seen viral right-wing tweets speaking out against Israel. I don't know what this means materially yet. I don't know what this actually going to mean. Would it actually affect the AIPAC Zionist? I don't know. I don't know if this is actually real, but it's something crazy is going on. But Sarah, I think you want to chime in. I know I'm very ready. Anything you want to add?
No, I think it's Texas is an interesting one, but they're dealing with Valentina Gomez right now, so I wish them all the best. She's there. She's going to take the Islamists and deport them, and so they'll be fine. Texas is going to be great.
Yeah, so this is the last story I wanted to cover. Here's a tweet from Sean. It's really worth reading this letter. The city of San Marcos, Texas has suggested that they can use their 4.4, so 4.4 million in taxpayer money on their residents that is sent to Israel instead of managing domestic problems. So essentially, they wanted to tackle addiction, education, essentially actually having a well-functioning society. And Greg Abbott was like, "What are you, a member of Hamas? What is this anti-Semitic? You actually care about Americans? Caring about Americans is anti-Semitic." That is the position of these traitors.
America First is anti-Semitic.
Yeah, America First is anti-Semitic. And guys, I don't have time to go through all these tweets, but dude, look at this ratio. Look at this fucking ratio. 14 million views, 16,000 comments versus 13K botted likes. And when you look at this, it's not only liberals, Democrats, and them going after them. You see a lot of right-wingers, bro. You see a lot of American fucking flags. I'm assuming this guy on the right. Can you be any more obvious that you're not American and you're in fact loyal to a foreign country? You do realize Israel is no way part of America and definitely not Texas. Guys, I'm just reading one, but that's the entirety of the thread. Thousands of likes on each one of these posts calling Greg Abbott a traitor. Many of them coming from Republicans. So I don't know what this actually means in the long term of challenging the Zionist project, but it has to be a good thing, right? That has to be something good. Sarah, sorry, I know you want to chime in earlier. Anything you want to add to the story? Anything else you wanted to cover?
No.
I know about RBN. Anything else you want to?
No, I think I'm good on our descent into techno-fascist authoritarianism. But guys, please keep your eye on Palantir. We had a nice little insider trading instance with MTG. I've been talking about Palantir a lot. I'm not going to really get into it here, but we touched on it as well with El Salvador. This is something that you guys need to continue to pay attention to. They're grabbing up contracts like there's no tomorrow. They just scored the huge ICE contract. Palantir and ICE now working together, which will also incorporate the whole entire Peter Thiel mafia, to include Clearview AI and Eric Prince and Elon and David Sachs and all of the crypto lords. So it's something that we really need to make sure that we pay attention to. Yeah. And I actually like MTG, and now I'm just like,
yeah, she's a scumbag politician. They all are. And you have Ian Carroll and all these right wingers who like to expose the truth. But whenever Palantir comes up, oh, come on, man. You guys really think that Palantir? No. The future of the capitalist class and the oligarchies here come through the innovations of AI. Palantir was using AI to develop targeting for Israel as they were committing their genocide against the Palestinians. And many audits have found that around 95% of these targets that Palantir will develop for Israel was simply just innocent civilians. It was giving Israel an excuse to target innocent civilians. It's not meant to be accurate, but you have these capitalists that are making a ton of money. They were making a ton of money giving Ukrainians these targeting AI systems. And this is going to be the new incentive for never-ending war. I mean, things are evolving. The ruling class is evolving. Palantir is ridiculous. Anyway, let me retweet just in case people are only listening. This is from Unusual Wells, who usually always track insider trading. Marjorie Taylor Greene bought Palantir on April 8th. On April 17th, Palantir was awarded a government contract with ICE to development immigration. O's or intelligence? I don't know. Palantir, ever since they got their government contract, they're up 50% in stock. So what a great investment from Marjorie Taylor Greene that surely she didn't have any insider knowledge on, right? The level of corruption in this country, many Americans can't even wrap their mind around, man. As they decry citizens for using the government to improve their life, they take government contracts and they are enriched via government contracts. Blackwater, Eric Prince, there's endless. Amazon, a lot of money comes through contracts. Elon Musk, contract baby. All these people make their money through subsidies. They cut social spending while they increase subsidies to themselves, corporate bailout to themselves. For example, they just gave PPP forgiveness loan. They gave loans out to businesses like Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro, one of the people who got a PPP loan check during COVID, and then he got it forgiven. The same people who got their PPP loan forgiven is saying how we can't forgive student loans, for example. It's just the capitalist hustle is so extensive. I can rant on it all day, but we can wrap up. I like these 1 hour to 70-minute power hour shows with Sarah and DDG Geopolitics. Anything you want to promote? Anything on your mind as we wrap up, Sarah?
No, guys, just please go to ddgeopolitics.com. Try to engage with the Twitter a little bit. We're a little shadow banned and we're working on it. We'll try to get more political spaces together on the large account. But other than that, we're just rocking and rolling, keeping things going.
Yeah, these dual streams are powerful. We have 4,000 people across all the platforms that we're streaming on. You know, we're streaming on my X, YouTube, DDG Geopolitics YouTube, and DDG Geopolitics on X. So we have 4 locations, 4,000 views right now. So what a banger stream. Great show. Always enjoy having Sarah on. I'm planning a Saturday show. I'm trying to get I have a show with Kit from Harlan's Media coming up. It's not this Saturday. That's in the works. We have a lot of guests in the works. I think I'm going to do another Saturday show. Last Saturday was pretty fun as well. So we see how things go up. Any last words, Sarah? Anything else you want to promote before we?
No, we'll keep our fingers on the pulse. Please make sure you watch Palantir and El Salvador from here on out.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and happy May Day to the workers.
Absolutely. I ended on that. Happy International Workers' Day, my friend and family. Actually, there's a video I want to end it on. Since it's May Day, you guys know Zoya is love. Zoya is like, she's always cooking. The same way I'm always in the lab cooking. Trust me, Zoya is always in the lab cooking as well. So I'm actually want to end on this video since it's May Day. This history of May Day video that Zoya posted. Hopefully we don't get any copyrights on this or something. But I'm going to play the video. We play this to exit out. So thank you for joining once again, Sarah. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you guys subscribe, like, share both channels. Make sure you guys check out DDG Geopolitics if you're not on the RBN side. Thank you guys for watching. I'll probably be back Saturday. If not Saturday, I'll be back next week.
History of May Day. May 1st is a metonym for International Workers' Day, a day of celebration of the working class. Behind it lies a history dating back over 1.5 centuries. The roots of May 1st can be traced to the second part of the 19th century when there were revolutions and organizations behind which industrial workers rallied. Countries including Germany, France, England, the US saw demand for reducing work time from 12-15 hours a day to 8 hours. The Communist Manifesto written by Karl Marx and Engels in 1848 had a great impact on workers across various countries that were feeling the heat of industrialization. Crop failure in the 1840s led to widespread anti-feudal upheavals called the Revolutions of 1848. As a result, the International Workingmen's Association, known as the First International, was born in 1864 as an umbrella association for all socialist and communist organizations, at a workers' congregation in London. After the First International dissolved in 1876 over an ideological rift, the Second International emerged in 1889 as a united outfit of socialist and labor parties. It was the organization that declared May 1st as International Workers' Day and March 8th as International Women's Day. Historically, an event is referred to as the origin of May 1st as Workers' Day, the Haymarket Affair or the Haymarket Massacre. When laborers assembled at the Haymarket Square in Chicago on May 4, 1886 and took out a rally for 8-hour workday, a bombing attack was mounted on them by some unknown forces. Police firing and loss of 11 lives were reported at the rally that ended in riot. Scholar of labor studies William J. Edelman says about the Haymarket Affair, no single event has influenced the history of labor in Illinois, the United States, and even the world, more than the Chicago Haymarket Affair. It began with a rally on May 4, 1886, but the consequences are still being felt today. Although the rally is included in American history textbooks, very few present the event accurately or point out its significance. As for May Day in India, the country witnessed the first celebration of Labor Day in 1923 in what was then Madras. It was at these meetings that a resolution was passed urging the British government to declare May 1st as Labor Day and also a government holiday. It was the first occasion in India on which the red flag was used.